Whenever you're ready, Carson.
Okay, Aaron, thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Carson Ciggia. I'm a business major and I'm the presidential candidate for the Forward Party. I want to start off first talking a little bit about myself and my experiences. I actually grew up in Clarence, New York. I've always been a strong in the Buffalo Niagara region. Always very concerned about the region. Always very concerned about the community. I came to the University at Buffalo basically because it was in my backyard. I actually took an entrepreneurship program when I was a senior in my high school at Williamsville North. Fell in love with the professor, fell in love with the school of management, and decided that there was no place else to attend. So, came to the university, tried to get involved, tried to join a couple clubs. Didn't really see what I wanted, in regards to clubs. So I found out how to start a club. That's when I really got involved in the student association. I actually started UBIZ, the Undergraduate Business Association, during my sophomore year. And, at the beginning it was very difficult, a lot of work, trying to get a team together. We had people come and go on the e-board, etc. But after a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication, lots of hours of flyering, word of mouth, we really did create a great club. So, and the whole idea was to create a club that was general, for management, because, the School of Management had their own clubs, but SA really didn't have one that was general. We had the Minority Management Association, but, we really didn't have, a general business club. So that's kind of the story about that. And along the way, I got involved in, a few clubs. I know I've been very active in the international community. Singapore SA has been a club I do a lot with, as well as, Circle K. So, but back to UBIZ. So starting UBIZ, it was great. I actually took the club from temporary club status to full-time club status in actually 1 semester. Which was basically unheard of. It normally takes 2 semesters. Somehow we slipped by the system just because, I was extremely ambitious. But at the same time, I saw a lot of inconsistencies in SA. So even though it only did take that 1 semester, I saw that if it wasn't for me pushing as hard as I did, which was probably 10 times the amount that the average student would, we would have never actually became a club, that fast. So I looked at these inconsistencies and I realized, how can I fix these? And somebody told me, they're like, Carson, you could be academic coordinator because that's the guy that you've actually been dealing with. And I said, I've never really dreamed of being elected, but, I finally realized that being elected meant that I could actually help people, like in my position, and I could actually make, the processes and actually make the clubs better. And then I realized, wow, on top of being able to make the clubs better, I can actually advocate for students and make like the average experience that each student has here at the university better. So it's not only about the clubs, but it's about being a senator as well, because it was a dual position. So I could also get into student advocacy. So when I was elected, I won the election. It was great. I was told, by somebody from the current SAE board that the academic council is the black sheep of councils. I told CISH is great, international is great, they're all great, but academic, they're the black sheep. And I was like, the black sheep? I was like, I don't like that. I was like, let's try and make this better. So not only making the process better for clubs, but trying to make the whole council better. So we did a lot of things. We had academic week, we brought that back. I was extremely involved in academic and engineering ball. Like I planned, a lot of it. Normally it's just the engineering coordinator. I really, stepped up and really tried to do a lot of that and be very actively involved. Also, I made a promise at the very beginning. I was going to get, all emails answered within 24 hours. We kept that promise. I thought that was great. Back to academic and engineering ball, that was definitely a big event, for the academic council as well as engineering council. I just want to kind of go a little bit into like the platform here. So, SA, a lot of times people think like, fiscal responsibility, think like a spend to zero. I am a business major. I also have my own small business, so I really take fiscal responsibility seriously. So when we were quoted $1,600 for busing from First Transit, I went and I called up First Transit and I said, listen, we're a school, we're getting buses from here to the Marriott, okay? You can almost walk, but not quite safely, so we need buses. But can you do anything to help us out? I said, we'll put your logo up, we'll do whatever we need to do. They ended up donating the $1,600 in busing. So that was definitely something that I thought that was great, and that actually helped take that $1,600, leave that where it was, and then it'll be back, rolled back into the student association. So that's an example of being fiscally responsible and how I care. Also, I am academic coordinator, so I oversee like the 23 academic clubs, but I also mention advocacy. Now, my role as senator is like go to Senate meetings. I don't really have to do much outside of that, but I've chosen to take a very, very active role. So I've worked with a police chief, on several occasions, just having meetings with him, talking about the Heights. The Heights is something I'm extremely concerned about. I know, and I'm not here to bash here, to take it too much, but I actually just did a Control F on their platform, and I typed in safety, and nothing came up except for a safety net, which had to do with financials. So, they're not even really addressing the issue of safety on South Campus and in the University Heights. At least if they are, it's not on their platform. It's something that we have written into our platform that we're going to work with administrators as well as community leaders, to make the Heights safer. And also, we want to put a shuttle on South Campus. This is already all in the works. Again, me running for president is really to get a lot of the things that I've started, give them more gas and get them going so they can actually be fully developed. A lot of things are already in motion. I've already started a lot of these talks, and I've already started a lot of the wheels turning. So we just have to keep moving forward, and I can't do that right now in my current position. If I run again, I'm still going to just be coordinator and senator. I have to move forward. No pun intended. But so club track sheets is something like going to the clubs, and Christian will talk about this when he comes, but I made digital track sheets because clubs typically have to turn in a hard copy track sheet, and that's like a big pain for everybody. So I actually went through early on, and I actually scanned in the track sheet and actually put in like text boxes in each one and made it digital for clubs, ease of access. Also, we want to provide more opportunities for clubs to complete community service. Our treasurer is going to talk about this, but the other party wants to actually reduce the community service requirement. We believe that it's not an issue of like the requirement like being reduced. We believe that we have to have more internal and external people in the community that we can deal with to give clubs community service opportunities. We believe that if the opportunities are there, we believe that community service is excellent because it really helps out the community, and it helps out all the stakeholders in the Western New York area. So we actually want to provide clubs with more opportunities. So we really have a commitment to the school and the community like no one else, and I really can't stress like how much I care. Like I'm doing this. I was actually going to go and like get my 3.2 MBA, and like I gave that up. Christian was going to graduate early. We actually really care. I'm not doing this to get my friends jobs or to have any type of like power or my own self-image. I'm doing this to really serve the students, and that's always how I've done it. And I believe that, not to be too selfish, but I am, sacrificing a lot to really, try to get into this race and to really try to get into office. So I really want that to be noted as well. And a lot of people say that they care, but, at the end of the day, a lot of people actually don't. I believe that, my vice president, myself, as well as the treasurer and our delegates have really all proven, that they do care. And there is tangible evidence for that. I really have a lot of intrinsic motivation. I want to do this, because it's really coming from inside of me, to really do better, to make this campus better, to work with students, to work with administrators, to also work with people in the community. Christian and I have worked with a lot of political leaders. We can get meetings with the mayor. We campaign for a congressman around here. We can get those meetings that are needed, because if you really want to get things done, a lot of times just getting university officials, you can't get everything done. So you have to also reach out to the community, to those advocates, those elected officials that we also have good connections with as well. So, if given the opportunity, we will work, like no other, to really help move this university forward. And that is all I have for you this afternoon. Thank you. I'll open up to questions, obviously.
Conzi, you can go first.
Carson, on Friday night, you had given Nemmer a C grade, and you only had like a couple minutes to explain. Can you kind of elaborate a little bit more about what you're going to do better next year if you were elected?
Yes, absolutely. And the biggest thing that I mentioned that, and I'll expand upon that point that I mentioned, was Travis's knowledge is phenomenal. I love his knowledge. I love that, he knows the Constitution inside and out because he's been on so many boards, so many things of that sort. But his relationship with the students, especially the average student, is really not that good. I went through the union, and when we signed petitions, we needed 200 signatures for our petitions. We ended up getting 800 signatures, and that was because I wanted to shake at least 800 people's hands and talk to them and ask them about their concerns. I believe that it's extremely powerful to have that really good feedback mechanism in order to make change and move forward. And I believe that Mr. Nemmer does not have that. He doesn't talk to anybody outside of his group of friends. And his group of friends, like it or not, I know that people in this room are probably friends with him, but they have jobs in SA. And I believe that people that do the best work for the position should get the job. Now, if they happen to be my friend, that's great. They happen to be some guy who submits a resume, I think that that's great as well. But they have to be the best person for the job, and that has to be decided upon between the entire executive board. And I believe that that is pretty important. Just from a business perspective, you pick the best applicant. Okay. So I also see that we don't see eye to eye. In addition to that, I've had a lot of ambition since I came into SA. I told Travis actually when I first came in, I went into his office and I said to him, we had the CEO of a $1 billion real estate company come in and speak. I knocked on his door, Merle Whitehead from Realty USA. I said, come in, talk to you, Biz. I didn't talk about that, but he told me that when he was first starting out in real estate, when he was really low level, he looked at his boss's chair and he said, one day I'm going to have that chair. And he ended up having that chair. He bought out the company. But a few weeks after that, felt really motivated. I went to Travis's office and I was like, this is going to work great. So I said to Travis, I was like, one day, Travis, I'm going to have your chair. And he still actually holds that against me in like a very, very nasty way, because I asked him a few weeks ago, I said, Travis, I said, why? Like, why, the hatred? Like, why not try to support us and really do well for the university? And he said to me, he goes, you told me that you wanted my chair, you're really cocky and condescending. And I didn't really mean it that way. I meant it because, I really wanted to be in the position that I could do the best for the students. And I believe as you keep moving up the ladder, you move up the amount of people that you can actually lead. So right now I can really only have an impact on this much, but if I move up to president, then it expands to this much, the entire undergraduate student population. So that's really what I meant about that, being able to lead and really trying to advance in the organization for the greater good. Not because I wanted to rob his chair from beneath him. So.
Joseph, Sam, Lisa.
If you could condense your campaign to 3 key points, what would they be?
I would say trust, accountability, and results. Because those are really our 3 main points. I think trust is huge. I think in SA, especially during this election and being an election, you guys gotta remember, I'm a business guy. I come from where the best person gets a job. I'm not used to, having to talk to one person and then you think that they're your best friend and then, they turn out not to be your best friend because it's election time. So I think trust is huge, but I think that, not just from an election perspective, looking from an outward perspective of the student population, trust is huge because students have to trust their elected official. Okay, if I'm up there, and that's been a tough part with me too in the union, because I'm going around, I'm in a suit, I'm in nice clothes, and I'm trying to tell people, vote for me, because I'm going to do the best job. People are thinking, you're a politician, you don't really care, you're just trying to get votes and you're trying to win for your self-interest. So they have to trust me, okay, so that they can vote for me and they can vote for our party. Accountability. I think accountability is huge because we have to be accountable in the organization. If I do something, and I will go ahead and say this, if we do win in front of the spectrum, if I do something that I don't feel like should be on your front page, and I don't feel like I should be doing it. And that's where the accountability comes in. Because if I am elected to serve the students, and I don't really do a job that shouldn't be on the front page of the spectrum, then I don't really feel like it's the right thing to do, because everybody has a right to know exactly what I'm doing and when I'm doing it. And I want to be held responsible. I want you guys to call me out. I want you to say, Carson, you did this, this, and this. Answer to students. Hopefully it'll never get there, but there also has to be accountability, and then also results, because I like to see results. Everybody likes to see results. It's great to sit around and talk about things. And our treasurer is going to go into this, but the other ticket talks about a lot of great things that they want to do, and it's great to have dreams. I'd love to be president of the United States one day, but you also have to have results, and you have to have results in the past that you have done things, you've made specific goals and attainable goals, and you have seen results. So we have some specific goals that have already been set into motion. And we believe that we can actually achieve, great results from those, and not, results that, may never happen, because we don't want to, promise. We don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. We'd rather do it the other way around. So, thank you for your question.
You mentioned, sorry, I interrupted the flow. Sam, go ahead.
On Friday, you said your big concern was finance committee. You called it a mess. He even said you wouldn't want the student body to see what goes behind those doors. So, in your opinion, what's the problem with Finance Committee, and what do you plan to do to improve it?
The problem with Finance Committee is, now, I would want students to see it in a current form. I do want, that's part of our accountability. I want to be accountable, so I want students to be able to see it, when it's under our administration, because right now I don't have control over it. But I want like a standard protocol, for clubs getting financing, because right now, and this is a little bit scary, at least to me personally. Right now in Finance Committee, you go in, you present your club budget, okay? You present your club budget in front of everyone, then the door closes, and then basically it becomes, not, I don't do it, but other people in the room make it into just all playing favorites. So, okay, guess what? Let's take a club, for example. I was in United Nations, whatever. I was in this, I was in that, okay? And I know how they operate, I know how they are, they're my club, they did really, really well, but a lot of times it won't just be like the explicit way, it'll be really like kept quiet. So you'll be fighting for a certain club, and everybody in that room will know that you were very actively involved in them, but nobody, very few times will people be called out on it, so you'll be trying to get that club like, a bigger budget, trying to get them to stay the same, and everybody in the room will know that it's very obvious that you were involved with them, but there's nothing really anybody can do because there's no protocol. We sit down and we just discuss amongst each other who should get, and there's a lot of people in the room that are really closely tied to each other that like kind of like vote with each other, if you will. It happened during when I ran for Senate chair. Like, it was already decided before I went into the room. I only got one vote, that was myself, and I was nominated by 2 people. It was a setup. People don't realize what happens like in student politics. It's the same thing at Finance Committee. People like are told to like vote for certain clubs like before they walk in the room, and it shouldn't be that way. You should have a set of rules, and you should say, this is how you have to vote. Did they do this, this, and this? There are the club requirements, but I don't believe that that's enough. There has to be more. There has to be like a rubric like for their presentation, and there has to be more, so you can do it based on based on the merits of the club and not on your own personal interest. For the record, I actually proxied out when UBiz came in, the club that I started, because I didn't want to be there, because I know that I'm not going to use my personal interest, but just in case I had like any favoritism, I didn't even want to be in the room just for the possibility. So maybe that has to be something too. If you're tied to clubs, maybe you have to have a proxy or something of that sort. But we just can't have favorites played, because at the end of the day, I do things just based on the merits. And if you're not doing it that way, you're doing it for your own self-interest, which is not very beneficial, and it seems like pretty corrupt politics.
It was Lisa next, right?
Yeah, you mentioned the University Heights, and a lot of people today have mentioned fixing the University Heights. Justin Newer has spent like this whole year taking an active role in the Heights, and I talked to him recently, and he said out of his 4 years at UB, he finally feels like there's hope because he's worked a lot with people within the community. But he's also met with university officials throughout this entire year, and there's still that disconnect between administration and people in the Heights, like E-District Chief Beatty, Councilwoman Bonnie Russell. How do you plan on taking that next step, pushing Justin's progress even more forward by maybe connecting those to the community and the university?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, Christian and I have, we're really the people that do this, I believe, because we've been out so much with elected officials already and, speaking with them about the Heights. But linking the university officials with the community, definitely is a challenge, but it's a challenge that we're willing to take on and we believe that we could do. Here's how. You have to, in my eyes at least, in order to get 2 groups of people to work together pretty well, you have to have a good relationship with each of them already. So I've been establishing the relationship with university administrators. I've been to I basically put myself into meetings with these people. A lot of these meetings you can, they're open and they don't really care if you come, the administrators, but nobody really goes because they don't really care. So, I've been trying to go to these meetings. I went over a couple over spring break with administrators, so I've definitely been building that relationship. And then on the flip side, I've also been building relationship, with people in the community. I have not, met with that councilwoman yet, but I've actually met with the Erie County Sheriff, which obviously oversees law enforcement for the entire county, and, he's very concerned about the area, and he also has a lot of law enforcement connections. I also met with the UPD chief several times. I'm also in the Citizens Police Academy, so I actually spend 3 hours a week with a majority of the officers from the police department. So I'm building relationships with them. I'm hearing their stories. I'm hearing what they have to say. And then on the flip side, I'm working with administration, and then I'm also, working with people in the community. I actually spoke with Byron Brown about this as well with the Heights, and trying to see, ideas that he's had. I've known Byron for a while, and I believe that if we all work together, the funny part is if you sit in here and you say we have an answer, like we have, it's like with JFK with like the silver bullet theory, like, there's one bullet, there's like one theory that just really sounds good. You can come in here and you can say, okay, this is going to do it, this is going to solve the Heights issue, but I believe that the best solution is not to come in here and say that I have one thing that's going to fix it, but that I won't turn my back to it, and that I will have a lot of talks with the people needed and brainstorm. The shuttle idea that we came up with was actually a meeting with myself, Justin, Barbara Cotta, the government liaisons coordinator for the university, and the assistant police chief. And we came up with the idea. We basically said, hey, listen, we want a shuttle. Barb said, okay, we'll consider donating a shuttle. Where are you going to get the driver? We said, well, listen, SBI right now, they have a publication they put out about apartments. A lot of those apartments are in the Heights, and they're, SBI, is, obviously like student owned, it is, with the university. So when people are looking at that, although, it's not like UB housing, they still associate it with UB. So they're saying maybe these are decent places to live. But in actuality, they're not, there's a lot of issues down there, but they're still, they're still publicizing these, and a lot of times there's even bad landlords in there. So we said, listen, let's take the funding from that, cut that out, so people won't be able to see these bad housing conditions anymore. At least it'll help a little bit with the advertising. Take that out, take that money, and try to pay a driver, if we could possibly get that shuttle. So work between SBI and then work between administration. So that was something that came about with a talk that we had. But I believe that, more talks between the three of us are really good. And you have to be a good liaison between these people, because I talk differently to, like, Byron Brown than I talk to, like, Barbara Cotta than, like, I talk to the police chief. Like, even though they're all, like, in high up positions, they're very different. Like, Barb is, like, very focused about, like, the university, like, itself, and, like, about education, and, the #1 goal is educating students. Byron's concerned about, like, his waterfront projects, the city. You got to kind of bring them back to the Heights and say, listen, if you want to make Buffalo Niagara region the region that you want it to make and not be one of the poorest cities in America, you have to really value the university. So you kind of have to tailor how you talk to these people. But I can tell you that, we have talked to them, and we will continue to talk to the right people and try to build those relationships.
What do you view as SA's relationship with the Spectrum, and how will you improve it?
Well, right now, I view SA's relationship with the Spectrum as, I view it as really making leaders held accountable, which I really like, because you guys are, an independent publication. If we do something that, isn't up to par, we can say it, but also at the same time, you do a lot of great work. We do a lot of great advertising with you guys, I know, and I'd like to continue that on. I'd like to, for organizations to really realize that this is not only just from SA, because I think that's great that, SA, does advertising in the Spectrum. I know, I saw A&E Ball, those advertisements. I think that's excellent. I think our communications department's key in that. But also, I think, like, reaching out, like, even, like, to the community and saying, listen, we have a great paper here on campus that, you guys can advertise. And I can personally say, and I'm not, just saying this, Aaron, to really give you a plug, but since you've been involved, like, with the Spectrum, like, it's definitely turned around a lot. And it's really become like a publication where before, when I was like a freshman or things that I kind of like look at, to now it's actually like a really, really good paper, and like there's a lot of quality and there's a lot of substance in it. So I believe that a good relationship with the Student Association and with the Spectrum is key, from the advertising perspective, and then also from the perspective that as, president, if elected, I would really be open to interviews all the time. I'd be open to, comment on everything. I would try to work with you guys as much as possible, and not, call you up and scream at you if you put an article in that wasn't 100% exactly what I wanted. Again, I want to be held accountable as much as it may hurt at the time. I believe that, students really have a right to know what's happening, in the SA, and really keeping, everyone held accountable.
If time for one more question. Sam.
Can you discuss the dismissal of Robin Murray from a ticket?
Yes, absolutely. So, okay, so Mr. Robin Murray was a delegate on our team. Okay, we had a very good team assembled. You know, we needed one more person. You know, believe it or not, it's hard to get 7 people together. Needed one more person, and you know, Robin came along. You know, great. He's got a lot of involvement in BSU. You know, he's a great gentleman. Okay, so back to finance committee meeting. I'm going to be completely open with you guys. I don't care if this kills me. Back to finance committee meeting. Okay, I was extremely. I was in the meeting. I was talking. There were, you know, a lot of things going on. One of the clubs that came in for their budget hearing was BSU. At the time when BSU came in, Robin was already signed up with our team. Okay, BSU comes in. Mr. Johns actually had a proxy. Mr. Johns had a proxy that day. Mr. Johns' proxy was recording the meeting, which you are not allowed to do. When that meeting was being recorded, during the BSU meeting, based on the information that I saw about BSU, based the club on its merits and not on Mr. Murray, I saw that BSU, I didn't think personally deserved the increase that they asked for. Okay? So when I saw that, and I didn't advocate for them. Now, I didn't like sit there and I wasn't like, you know, they don't deserve this, they don't deserve that. I was just kind of like more so neutral in the situation, but I definitely did make some comments that like I didn't advocate for them at all. So what happened was Robin came back to us and he said, listen, he said that we have a tape recording of you in a finance committee meeting, which is a closed door meeting, and there's a reason that we have clubs leave, okay? You know, because we have to discuss certain things now in the future. Obviously, I want to change up the rubrics and all that, but we still have to discuss things. Everything, you know, should be pretty open, but certain things you do have to, you know, definitely discuss amongst yourselves because people get, you know, pretty angry pretty quickly. But especially when you're running a deficit, money's got to come from somewhere. So I discussed, you know, with everyone, you know, Mr. Murray. I said, listen, I said, I try to make the decision, you know, based on its merits and, you know, not based on helping, you know, one of our delegates. And one of the e-board from BSU said to me, they said, Carson, they go, you know, why didn't you advocate for us? Why didn't you, you know, really try to push BSU? You know, don't you see that, you know, Robin's on your side? And I said, excuse me. I said, I'm on finance committee. I said, I'm trying to do the best for the organization. I said, we're currently running a deficit right now, and you know, I'm not gonna go and try to give more money to you guys. I said, based on the information that we had, the budget pack, I looked at you like any other club, and I said, I made the decision to state in that meeting, you know, that I didn't believe that you deserved an increase. And she said to me, she said, well, you know, again, Robin's on your side, why wouldn't you do anything? And I said, I do things based on its merits. And I do things at the end of the day the way that they should be done. And I said, as much as that's going to hurt us. And she said, okay. Well, she said, then, you know, goodbye to you. And Robin's a great kid, by the way. I love Robin. I actually went to an African Student Association event. I saw him last night. We talk. He's great. I mean, he's great. He's a sophomore, though. He's a young kid. And what he wants is he wants to run for e-board next year at BSU. So he doesn't want everybody in BSU angry with him. Okay, so what Robin had to do was Robin had to, you know, go and he had to say to BSU, listen, you know, I want to stay with Carson. And then they said to him, they said, listen, you stay with Carson, then, you know, maybe, this is just what I'm guessing because I don't know, like, the other side, but I'm guessing that there was this conversation that happened where they said, listen, they said, you stay with Carson, then, you know, maybe you're not going to be on e-board next year. So they kind of like pressured him around, and you know he was kind of like caught in the middle. So he ended up saying goodbye, and you know we lost a delegate. Now we have a team of 6, and now I know we're gonna have to fight harder than ever. But I want everybody to know that I did the right thing. And at the end of the day, a lot of people don't do the right thing, and elected officials are never held accountable. But I did the right thing. It's partly because I'm a business major and because I like looking at just things based on its merits and dollars and cents, and you know, not really playing favorites because I haven't really been in the political game at all that long. So that was the decision that was made, and it hit us you know, it hit us hard. You know, Robin leaving, obviously we lose BSU support. They're very nasty to us. I tried talking to them, and I tried saying, listen, like, you know, if you come up with like good events and stuff, and like I'm in office, like, you know, I'm always like willing to like listen to clubs and, you know, hear what you guys have to say and like try to help you out, because I try to help everybody I can. But when you get down to like money and you get down to actual like physical like evidence and like things of that sort, and you're on a committee where you're running a deficit, and you're trying to make the best decision, getting somebody a projector like a day early or something like that is different than like trying to write somebody's budget based upon you having a delegate from their, you know, from their club. So.
What was the proxy for Nick Johns?
The proxy for Nick Johns was Alana Barracks.
Is she involved in the election at all?
She is very pro-spirit. She